Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about physical health. I'm going to give the basics, just the basics, to make it simple and easy. So if you've been struggling with diet and exercise or just trying to be healthy in general, then you're going to want to watch this video. Alright, so what are the physical health basics? Let's get started. The first one I'm going to start with is sleep, and this is so crucial. This is when the body rejuvenates and heals and detoxes, and a lot of people say that, if you can get by with less sleep, why not? Because you might feel like you don't have enough time, or whatever your reason is. I do understand because a lot of things get in the way of sleep, but it's worth reminding you again how important it is. Most of the health experts that I follow always include sleep, adequate sleep, not just some sleep. It needs to be optimized. So here's how you can optimize your sleep. Between 7 to 9 hours a night is what most experts recommend. This will depend on your body type. It'll depend on your age, if you're sick, many things like that. So the key is to get what your body needs, but no more or no less, because too much sleep can cause imbalances, and of course too little sleep can cause all sorts of health issues. So the times that you want to be in bed are 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. as a general rule. Of course, this doesn't have to be so strict, but in Ayurveda, this is what they recommend for most people, give or take an hour or two. And the main time that you really want to be in bed, if you really can't get to bed that early, is midnight to 3 a.m. Those are the hours that your liver is detoxing, and those are the hours that your body is doing its most heavy work when it comes to rejuvenating, when it comes to everything that it's doing. So if you are awake during the hours of midnight and 3 a.m., those are precious hours that you are not giving your body time to heal. So some ways that you can improve your sleep is to not use blue light screens 1 to 2 hours before bed. So ways that you can fix that problem is to put one of those blue light blocking apps on if you use a laptop. If you use phones, I think there's a dimmer on. I don't use my phone hardly ever, but I think there's a way to make it dimmer. You can also just not use any blue light, any screens at all, an hour or two before bed, which is probably the hardest option because most people live on their phones. But, start with a small amount. Start with maybe a half an hour before bed. And I do give a lot of tips on things that you can do before bed to help get better sleep. And so it's not like you're just going to be sitting around bored. You are going to have a nighttime routine that is going to help you to get ready for sleep, and it'll make you so much healthier. So another thing you can do is to keep your room dark, cool, and quiet. These are also important. I use a fan or a white noise machine. Those are crucial for me to get enough sleep, and the reason why those work is because you're drowning out all of the noise that will wake you up, the noise that will keep you awake. White noise is very calming. So keeping your room dark and cool is also important, and if you can't keep it completely dark, there's ways that you can get around that. Like if you work overnights and then you sleep during the day, you can put tinfoil on your windows. You can use room darkening shades. I've done a combination of all sorts of those things. I used to work overnights a lot. And that's very important. I mean, you really can't keep all the sun out because even if you do all those things, there still might be some cracks that let the sunlight in, but do whatever you can. And to keep your room cool, that means it doesn't have to be freezing, but it should be somewhere in the 60s. I actually keep where I live, about 61, 62. But that's to save money on heat bills, of course, but I do sleep better. I sleep way better in the winter for that reason. In the summer in here, it gets to be in the 90s sometimes at night, and that's just too hot. And I do struggle to sleep then. But that's just another example of keeping your room cool leads to better sleep. So if you have to, just use more blankets. Meditation before bed and writing in a journal before bed, these two go hand in hand, and I do them every night without fail. Of course, you're probably going to have some obstacles to that because maybe you have kids, maybe you work a couple jobs, maybe there's whatever reason where you just don't have the time. And you don't want to skimp on sleep, so you just, you might get done with all of your things, and then you just go right to bed. Now, chances are when you do that, you're probably not going to fall asleep right away. So try to give 5 minutes for each of these. 5 minutes for meditation, 5 minutes for writing in a journal. That's a pretty easy place to start. So what works best for me is to write in my journal first and then meditate, but you can do it every which way you want. You can meditate first, you can meditate while you're writing in a journal, you can just do whatever works for you, because those are two of the best things that you can do for your physical health, your mental health, and your spiritual health. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is water. So getting a minimum of 8 glasses a day, that could be a different number for different people. And trying to get spring water or reverse osmosis water. I've also heard that any type of alkalized or ionized or structured water is good, but those are expensive, and I'm trying to keep the tips that I give to to keep them for people that live on a budget, which is actually most people. Most people cannot afford one of those fancy filter machines. So my reverse osmosis machine, I got it at a liquidator, so it was a lot cheaper than usual. But if you can't afford something like that, you can get one of those filters that just, the pitcher ones. They're not the best, but they're better than nothing. Or you can buy spring water in bottles. Spring water is some of the best water that you can get. And a lot of people struggle with water because they don't like that it doesn't have a flavor. So if that's you, you can drink tea. This is something I do when I first wake up and right before I go to bed. I drink a cup of tea. Now, tea's not everybody's thing. I understand. It's not really flavorful, especially if you're used to drinking soda, which is very sugary. So just play around with it. There might be some teas that work for you. I actually make a very simple herbal tea that just has cumin seeds, fennel seeds, and cardamom pods. Those are easy to get because they're just herbs. They're just dried herbs, and they work really good because you can buy them in bulk, and then you're only buying them once every couple months, and you use such a small amount in each glass. So that's the very cheap way to go, but it's a great way because those herbs are good for you. Herbs are amazing. So if you have trouble drinking plain water, try herbal tea. So the next one I'm talking about here is food. Of course, this is a big part of having good physical health. So when it comes to food, you want to eat mostly whole foods, organic if possible. So whole foods are produce, vegetables, fruits. Going a little farther down on this list for a minute is vegetables, leafy greens, fruit, lean protein, whole grains, herbs, and spices. So the majority of those are whole. And you want to get in-season foods, if you can, and organic. So there is the Dirty Dozen list, which is the list of foods that is probably going to still have all of the chemicals on them from being sprayed. So Google that. Google Dirty Dozen. And those are the ones that you should buy organic. Of course, organic is a great choice if you can afford it for everything. And a good way to do this is to cook from scratch as much as possible, because that way you're saving money, and then you can spend a little bit more on organic food. If you're not going out to restaurants, and also if you're cooking from scratch, it's the healthiest it can possibly be because you're not adding preservatives. So the last thing on this list is to avoid sugar, foods fried in fat, and ingredients you can't pronounce. Basically, those things are all processed foods. So if you're cooking from home, from scratch, you're not dealing with all the processed foods, especially if you're, cooking things that are from whole foods. And there's a lot of ways you can do this without having to spend a lot of money. I use Misfits Market, which is a delivery service for organic food, and they claim that, well, I've been getting them for over a year now, so I know that these are amazing. They're, you know, it's supposed to be misfits, but they're not. They are amazing, like perfect. I don't even know why they're called misfits. I did a video showing you what's all in a typical Misfits Market box, if you want to check that out. So that's a cheap way you can get your healthy food. You can also go to farmers markets. Now, a lot of people think those are expensive, but in the long run, you're going to be eating healthier. And it's, you know, a lot of these basics they work together. So it's not just one thing that's going to make your diet better. It's a lot of these things. So like the bottom thing says, avoiding sugar, that's a big part of it. And ingredients that you can't pronounce. Checking food labels is crucial. I have a video about how to read food labels. That is one of the most important things you can learn how to do to be proactive when it comes to the food that you buy. So moving on to the next thing is sunlight. So sunlight is crucial to our health, and we've been brainwashed into thinking that it's bad for us in small amounts. Now, it is bad for us in large amounts, which is why if you're going to be outside for more than 15 minutes, you do want sunscreen. But you do need to have your skin directly open, like with nothing on it, for 15 minutes, give or take, depending on your skin tone and where you live on the planet. And what you want to do is get this light as early in the morning as possible. This helps your eyes, and it also helps your skin. You cannot absorb a vitamin D as good with food or supplements as you can with the actual sun. So many people have a vitamin D deficiency, and it doesn't have to be that way. Now, of course, I understand, because I live in the north. I understand that you can't get outside a lot of times in the winter time if you live in the north. So there are you can't be perfect about it, but just do what you can, and that's the best we can do. I'm just here to help people do the best that they can. So the next one is movement, and movement includes exercise, but movement is more of a general way to explain that your body needs to keep moving. Now, you can sit, but I would avoid sitting for more than 2 hours at a time. If you do have to sit for that long, then set a timer to get up and stretch, maybe every half hour, maybe every hour. And if you work from home, or if you work in an office, if you work at a desk, you can buy those adjustable desks. There's a lot of ways around the problem of sitting. So basically, you want 20 minutes a day, at least 3 days a week, of exercise that's going to get your heart beating. So that's cardio and aerobic type things. You also want to do strength training, especially as you get older. That's something that's really important for women in their 30s and 40s and older. You don't have to go to the gym for hours every day. You don't even have to exercise every day. A minimum of 3 days a week is all you need, and 20 minutes is the basic. It's the basic amount of time that it takes to make changes in your body. So some of the things that you can do are yoga, walking, stretching. You can ride a bike. You can get a treadmill. That's what I have for wintertime when I can't get outside and walk. I've actually heard from different health experts that you really just have to walk. Like, I actually saw one health expert saying all you really need to do is walk. That's the only exercise you need. I don't fully agree with that, but there was a lot of truth in that a little bit, because, when you think about it, our ancestors didn't have gyms. They didn't have weights. They were built. They were fit. And that was from walking, running, just daily life for them. The only reason why we need gyms today is because people are too sedentary. And I don't even think we need gyms, because they're, like I said, you can walk, you can get a treadmill if you can't go outside to walk. Yoga is something you can do anywhere. You really only need a couple feet of space. Stretching is amazing to do. It's really about, doing the things that you will do. Don't make yourself do things that are dreadful. Like, For me, I don't like lifting weights, but I have, I have some good muscle, and it's from doing activities that I love, that I will do on a regular basis, that I can do for hours. Sometimes I could dance, I could ride a bike. I love to do hula hooping. Those are all great exercises that are cardio and strength training all in one. So you really don't need to be bulky. We're not all trying to be, bodybuilders here. You don't need to be that extreme about it. So my message, of course, is aimed at people that are beginners when it comes to this stuff. So most likely you're not trying to become buff. You're just trying to be healthy. And that is why just basic movement, 20 minutes a day, 3 days a week of walking, getting your heart rate up a little bit, and avoiding sitting down. That's really all you need. So the last thing on this list is air. You might not have been expecting this one. So air is very important, especially if you're indoors a lot. You want to use an air purifier or a humidifier if you need to. There's a lot of houses that don't have good ventilation, and they might have mold. Mold is a really big problem nowadays. You can buy air purifying indoor plants, and also, like I said, get 20 minutes of fresh air. So getting nature every day it's a multifunctional exercise. You're getting your sunlight on your skin. You're getting the sunlight in your eyes so that your circadian rhythm is reset. And you're also getting fresh air to breathe. And you're also getting in nature itself. So nature is healing. So to get your quality air, just going outside if you can for 20 minutes a day is amazing. And like I said, there's plants you can buy. I talk about these plants, some of these plants, in my online course that has a little section about that, but I also have it in one of my planners. So there's ways that you can find those air purifying indoor plants. And then, like I said, I use an air purifier every night when I sleep. If you live in a dry area, then you're going to want a humidifier. So yeah, there's lots of ways that you can make your air healthy. So if you're interested in learning the basics about diet and exercise, I have a video that goes into just that, and you can get a free cheat sheet as well. So be sure to watch that video next, and be sure to subscribe if this information sounds really good to you and you want to learn more on a regular basis. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.